Chapter 21. Flight. A white painted bus. On it, severely crippled but recovered men were taken away late one afternoon. Home. That was their destination. Nicole and I smiled through our tears as we said goodbye. The bus groaned away, pitching from side to side. The orderlies and nurses who had helped them board the thing watched as it turned a corner and then was gone. The others went inside. Tamara lingered for a moment, then followed them. I sat down on one of the several wooden crates the bus had brought. It was a warm afternoon, but my heart felt frozen. I looked out at El Reni, at the desolate sprawl of wooden buildings extending several kilometers over thinly forested flat land. Beyond lay dark, brooding mountains, their peaks lit lavender by a failing sun. In mid-August, a broadcast from Radio Moscow informed us that the Germans had launched a new offensive. We hardly needed to be told. In the distance, we had already begun hearing the rumble of artillery fire. We knew what to expect next. Before the week was out, ambulances, carts, and military vehicles of every sort began arriving with wounded men. More than half of the new arrivals were from the southern Asiatic regions of the Soviet Union, making it extremely difficult to communicate with them. There were so many of them, and we were so desperate for transportation that even old cars were pressed into service, and these would come puttering to us directly from the front with their bloodied passengers. The hospital quickly filled to overflowing. Men with gaping lacerations, blasted limbs, and horrid burns. The wounds were everywhere. Dr. Sworoff and Dr. Rostovic, the nurses, and the rest of us were overwhelmed trying to take care of all these men. Stand still, more kept coming. For the first time, I began pulling double shift. Instead of working just a 9-hour day, we all worked 12 hours, 6 on the day shift and 6 at night. Between Tamara and me, there was a wall of silence. We hardly spoke. I didn't know what she was thinking or what she would do. At any time, she could turn me in. I wasn't sure if I cared. The fighting came closer. As we worked, artillery rounds sometimes shook the building. We could even hear the snips and snap of rifle fire coming from the forested hills beyond El Reni. Orders came down. The hospital, as well as the town, was to be evacuated starting immediately. All our wounded were to be transported to Tretsk, a town some 30 kilometers to the east. Fighting was already breaking out in El Reni as trucks, ambulance cars, and old battered buses arrived to take us away early one afternoon. Working at a frenzied pace, we loaded all of our most seriously injured patients on board. We had started loading the walking wounded and the medical supplies and equipments when the wooden buildings across the way erupted, showering us with flaming splinters. Somewhere nearby, a machine gun hammered. Grenades banged in quick succession. "Go!" I screamed, slapping the side of the bus. It was already moving. "X!" I saw Tamara in the back of a flatbed truck filled with patients, and then I was running after the thing. Sergo pulled me aboard. A blind man kept yelling, "What's happening?" Other patients cried in pain as the heavy truck bucked and jolted along the rutted road. For a moment, our convoy seemed to be leaving the fight behind, as well as El Reni, much of which was now in flames. We were passing through a wooded area when we heard intermittent gunfire coming from off to our left. The bank of windows of a car in front of us shattered, and black smoke began pouring from beneath the vehicle. In a great eruption of flame and flying debris, it exploded. I saw several Russian soldiers running through gales of smoke and dust, gunshots chasing them. Some of the shots punched holes in the cab of the truck as it swerved around the burning debris of the car. More shots rang out. Katerina seemed to swoon, to collapse almost gently, ladylike onto her arm. Her eyes closed. Blood pooled out from beneath her. "Oh, God, no!" shrieked Zoya. I looked at Zoya kissing the translucent face of Katerina, crying, almost howling. Then Tamara was holding both of them, the dead, beautiful girl and her aunt, Zoya, soaked with blood from her niece. I think it was a mortar shell that hit the bus behind us. The front 2/3 simply disintegrated. The rear of it spun around, spilling several of its occupants, Dr. Rostovic and 3 or 4 patients. Spewing gravel, our truck skidded to a stop. I scrambled into the back of the bus. An orderly walked past me, his face freckled with tiny cuts from broken glass. No one else in the bus was alive. For a moment, there was relative quiet. What was left of the convoy was headed away without us. Those who had been in the rear of the bus had survived were sitting on the ground in a daze. Zoya, Tamara, Mikos, and I helped them aboard our truck. A group of terrified townspeople, mostly women and children, emerged, and we helped them on as well. The truck was now packed with dazed and wounded people. There was no room left for the rest of us. I slammed my palm against the door of the truck, surprised by my new role as leader. "Go!" I ordered. Bullets kicked up powder puffs of dust in the road. One bullet hit a rear tire of the truck. Tilted to one side, the vehicle lumbered away. "We have got to get out of here," Mikos yelled. Zoya, Mikos, Tamara, and I scrambled into the woods. 2 Germans ran past. They saw us, but kept going. Sergo loomed into view. I grabbed Tamara's hand. All of us ran. Somewhere behind us a machine gun was chattering. Mortar shells exploded in the woods off to our left. "Down!" I screamed. We hugged whatever protection the land provided. The thunderclaps of mortar rounds pounded the woods, spraying us with dirt, rock, and chunks of wood. A tree snapped at the base. In flames, it fell. I heard Mikos scream. "Mikos!" I cried, and for a moment saw him, trapped beneath the blazing fallen pine, now part of the flames. Zoya dragged me away, and then Tamara was beside me, too. We were running, Sergo ahead of us. Off to our left, spears of flame were shooting upward and outward from the forest. Instantly it became a swirling wall of flame. We ran, waves of superheated air chasing us. There was a sudden crackling roar directly above us as towering firs burst into flames. "There!" Sergo was pointing, screaming. Off to our right and down a steep pine-needle-covered incline was a broad ravine. We ran, fell, then skied down the slope, tumbling together into the ravine, a dry stream bed. The world lit with intense light, intense heat. I saw the red of the fire through closed lids. Flames roared overhead. Then they were gone. I opened my eyes to blackness, to smoke. And through tearing eyes I saw thousands of red-hot little curls of burnt pine needles drifting downward. The fire continued burning, but it was far beyond us now, great tendrils of flame leapfrogging, looping away through the forest. The 3 of us picked ourselves up. Our clothes were pocked with burn holes, our hair and brows were singed. We were coughing, the cut in my hand was bleeding, our eyes were red and burning. But still we could see that something was wrong. There were only 3 of us. Zoya was gone. End of part 2.